Welcome everyone to Solomon's Crown. So today, guys, we're going to talk about the most controversial topic in America right now. It's on everyone's minds, the aftermath of the Kyle Rittenhouse trial, right? So to give a little synopsis, Kyle Rittenhouse, he was 17 at the time. He went to Kenosha, Wisconsin to help with protests, to help, protect property, to help people that were hurt during these protests, these BLM protests. He ended up shooting three people, two of which died. One had an injury to his arm. Long story short, he went to trial on the side of self-defense. The prosecution was on the side of him being underage, being a vigilante, shooting people, going with the intent or the assumed attempt of, going with the gun to shoot people. In the end, he got off fully clear of all charges, and it seems to have just either been evidence or even so far, I go so far saying widening the partisanship of conservative / pro-gun people and liberals / anti-gun people. So today, me and Will, we're going to talk about it, and we want to know what you guys think in the comment section below. So Will, just what's your overall feeling of the situation?
I mean, truthfully, everybody's going to go into the debate that, oh, if it was somebody who's like a minority or the black man, as they would say, it wouldn't have went the same way just because of the way the situation unfolded. But in all reality, that's not what the case was about. The case was truthfully about, did he defend himself with self-defense? And truthfully, when it comes down to it, yes, he defended himself. He was being attacked by three different men. And the first one, I mean, it was just like a clean cut, like self-defense. The second two, the second guy, I mean, the dude tried to hit him with a skateboard, and then the third guy actually had a weapon, which they talked about. His weapon, he had a concealed carry license, but the license was suspended, and he pointed a gun at somebody with an AR, maybe not knowing the full situation. I mean, everybody just sees somebody with a gun and people are yelling, and there was a lot of confusion in the whole situation. So it's just like one of those things where if you're going to point a gun at somebody, then you need to be prepared to use it, essentially. And that's with any training. It's not just, hey, I'm going to point a gun at somebody to kind of be like, this is for fun. Like, especially somebody who's holding an AR in that situation. Like,
exactly. Yeah.
So by a legal standpoint, yes, I mean, you can see how the case unfolded. Like, he lawfully protected himself in this situation. From a moral standpoint, I mean, he killed three people killed two people, injured one. And that's the biggest debate right now is like, was it a moral issue or a legal issue? And truthfully, based off of how the case went, I mean, it was definitely a legal standpoint. I mean, the case focused on self-defense, and that's it. And that's what he got acquitted of, is he defended himself in the best way that he knew possible. I mean, truthfully, when it comes down to self-defense, it's like either kill or be killed. There's a lot of things that people are trying to argue as far as like him being not in the state that he's from. Like, some people would say that he was looking for trouble and he found it. It's just so many different standpoints. And truthfully, at this point in time, this is just what it has become with all the random, like the states. Each state has their own laws. Each state has their own ways of dealing with situations. So if you are within legal, like essentially like he was in the right, I mean, and that's why he got acquitted of all the charges. I mean, how do you feel about it?
So I'm torn because I do 100% agree from a absolute legal standpoint. Because I mean, I watch a lot of shows. I mean, I'm not a legal education. I don't have any legal education at all. But from what it seems like, the American legal system is extremely technical. So from a legal standpoint, he defended himself. He was attacked. He was in imminent danger from bodily harm and or death, and that's what he did. But there's just so many, I guess, moral potholes because one, like, who would send their 17-year-old to another county to go to a protest, right? That's one. Two, I guess from some articles that I read, at the time he was 17, so legally he wasn't supposed to have a weapon, but I guess he could kind of get around that because I think in Wisconsin, don't quote me on this, if you're 16 or 17, you can carry a shotgun or a rifle if you're hunting. So I guess he kind of could get away with that. And then it's like you're not a trained like law enforcement officer, paramilitary, militia, or military. So why are you going around like as a minor to kind of protect property? You know what I mean? It's kind of weird in a way, but America is a really unique country in that regard. So, and I mean, a lot of people are bringing up the victims' criminal record, and
Yeah.
we've seen of a past pattern of this, because technically, regardless of your feelings in the American legal system, you're supposed to have a fair trial to defend yourself against the prosecution and whatnot. Overall, again, legally, I think he was in the right, but and I'm kind of but morally, I'm kind of on the fence where I've seen so many issues, so many instances of where black men and women are doing less, much less to have a gun, and what happened to them. Um, in that regard, also, sometimes I feel like stuff like that does happen, right? And it may be media over exaggerating things to cause, racial tensions. And I know a lot of people are going to mention that this other guy, I think his last name is Coffee, in Lake County somewhere. I forgot which state it was, but he got off for self-defense because I think SWAT attacked him and he shot back and he won that case. So the justice system, I guess, legal system does work from time to time, but
Yeah.
this was definitely like a polarizing story. And I feel like as black men, we kind of knew what would happen to Kyle.
I mean, everybody knew what was going to happen.
Yeah, everybody knew.
And that's not
Yeah.
just basing it off of like a racial standpoint. Like that's just
Yeah.
like watching how the case was unfolding,
Yeah.
looking at
The
looking at
Yeah, go
like
ahead.
how the case was built around it, and just having common sense essentially. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
the case was legitimately about like, did he defend himself and did he legally
Self-defense.
have reason to use self-defense? And
Mhm.
I mean, that's the thing. That's why a lot of people are just kind of like not even like, I mean, I feel like a lot of people are numb to the situation at this point where it's just like,
Yeah, I think so.
you have minorities who are being killed in their own houses. They're being shot for like essentially, because it's based off of which state you're in. I mean, every state is different.
Mhm.
There's no like common ground for any laws or anything like that. I mean, every state has its different open carry laws. Every state has its own concealed carry. And it just varies drastically. So that's like one of the big things that you can't argue about, is just like, this is what the American people want. I mean, for the most part, everybody is like the Second Amendment this, the Second Amendment that, but it's just like,
it's this is a tough one, man. This is a tough one because there's also instances like I heard when the Black Panthers were up and running, and that one big event where they were protesting in the Capitol.
Hmm.
I don't know if it was Washington D.C. or some state capital, and there was a big hullabaloo about it. And they were calling for gun reform and everything just because black men had guns. They were
Hmm.
exercising their Second Amendment rights. And then we see this instant of Kyle, whether the circumstances are wrong or not, he was exercising his Second Amendment rights. So, and I definitely agree with the spirit of the Second Amendment in that throughout history there's a lot of governments that do ill stuff to their people.
Yeah.
And it's like the second amendment is there to ensure that the citizens have the wherewithal and the proper legal backative to be like, hey, I'm gonna defend myself and my community against aggressors. So it's a tough one. um on that note, I feel like more black people should practice their Second Amendment rights as well.
Well, it also comes down to education.
Yeah, education, that too.
Education is like the biggest thing. It's like, okay,
Yeah,
so he won his case. Obviously, I mean, if you watch the trial, I just brazed
yeah.
over it for the most part,
Hmm.
and just got a bunch of different standpoints because, I mean, at this point, everybody's pushing their own agendas when it comes to this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And you kind of have to get a all-encompassed picture, and that's why I came down to the whole fact that, like, I mean, yeah, like legally, like it came down to what it was going to come down to. I mean, I don't think everybody had their speculations, but then after watching the case, it's not like he just blatantly got away with a bunch of stuff that was just like people could be like, look, this is why he got away with it. It was just kind of
Mhm.
like cut and dry.
The prosecution was dog water as well.
Yeah, from
They
what
were not
everybody's been
good.
saying.
Yeah, they're not good.
But the thing is
It's
this,
yeah.
um, like it's a tough situation to deal with because it's like, where do we go from here? At this point, I mean, it really comes down to the person who's defending you in any case that you're in.
Hmm.
I mean, a lot of things that people would say is like most minorities don't even have the time to defend themselves because they're being killed before it even gets into
Hmm.
the court. And that's a big thing too, is like
Hmm.
um, the people who are killing them need to be held accountable. I mean,
And
we
Baltimore,
saw
yes.
a couple situations where it has been handled like that, but not every situation is being handled like that. Um,
So
Go ahead.
yeah, sorry, but overall, just to kind of give, I guess, my final thoughts on this thing.
Mm.
uh it's a man-made system. It's not perfect. There's going to be some miscarriages of justice. Not to kind of negate the history that minorities, such as ourselves and other minorities, have with the justice system, but I think the good that can come from this situation, again, black people and other minorities need to care more about their Second Amendment rights, gun safety, gun education. I think a lot of us don't really mess with that compared to a lot of our Caucasian counterparts, and we can very much use this precedent with Kyle Rittenhouse to kind of justify not going out and like being all like wild with guns, but
Yeah.
if we're in, but like have the education, read up on your state's gun laws, and make sure you know how to handle yourself with the gun. But if you can conceal carry and something happens, or whatnot, then you can kind of use precedents like this recent trial to be like, hey, this is what happened with Mr. Rittenhouse. So why are you kind of like doing me like this, XYZ type deal? So I think this is an opportunity for a lot of minorities to kind of like, hey, maybe I should, the Second Amendment worked for him. Maybe I should, get my Second Amendment rights and, see where it goes from there.
So that's the other thing too, is just when you look at, so like based off of, I mean, we've been out of the country for a little while, so we're
Yeah.
potentially out of touch with everything that's going on. I mean, I've
Hmm.
traveled back a couple times. but it just goes into like even just the way that everything is being handled in the states, as far as like legal issues, and like there was a curfew in state and nobody's listening. Like um
Mm-hmm.
if you look at other countries, I mean, recently you saw like France was up in arms, if you follow world
Mm-hmm.
news. um Germany, Europe in general, like with the whole COVID situation, there's been like new laws enforced with like curfews and things like that, and they don't mess around with these laws. At one point when COVID first started, you were being fined for gathering in groups and things like that. And I think that with America, like everything is like super lax. Like they somewhat
Mm-hmm.
enforce laws, but to a certain extent, it just comes down to like whether the American people are going to listen or not. And
Mm-hmm.
when you just deliberately don't care about one law, it's a ripple effect. So it's like, okay, we don't care about this law because our beliefs and this, and that. But it just comes down to like, okay, if you don't believe in this law, then that means somebody else can be like, okay, I can break that law. And they were not joking with that whole curfew situation. I mean, you saw New Zealand, like they literally
Yeah.
locked down the country to travel. Like, and people would say, like, oh, this is a dictatorship, this, and that. But look at how much better their country is doing right now, with
Man.
the COVID situation. I mean, that's what it comes down to, is like,
Mm-hmm.
America is the land of the free and the brave, but like nobody wants to listen at times. I mean, I get it. Like I get it being locked down and like not being able to do things, and you feel like the government is trying to control you and this, and that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not just on the American people. That's on the government. That's on the way that these these rules are being enforced and being put out there. But it kind of has to be like an and everybody is on the same page type thing. And I think that
Mm-hmm.
that's the biggest thing,
Yeah.
is like there's been so much divide, there's been so much like it's
It's
just a,
crazy.
yeah,
Like
it's just a tricky
America's just
situation.
divided. Yeah, America's just divided on almost every single thing, probably on what food is good to eat by,
Yeah,
by year's
exactly.
end. But I think we are going to wrap this up right now.
We'll touch bases
Um,
back on it,
yeah,
if we get some feedback, or I can also we can get some people on to like kind of really discuss the
this is
situation at
yeah.
hand,
Well,
because I
let
mean
us. Yeah, go ahead.
this is just us looking at it from a outside looking
Objective.
in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Objective, outside looking in type situation. But guys, if you made it this far in the video, please, 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 please let us know what you think in the comment section below. And if you like what you see so far in our videos and our talks, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, because it goes a long way to helping our channel grow. And with that being said, I'm your boy Pop,
Boy Willie, man, and we out.
and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.